Hi, Dr. Song. My name is Claire Schimmel, and I am here today to talk to you about the case study that I completed for your class. Um, I am sorry about the unfortunate background situation. I wish I had something a little more professional, but I'm in my apartment, so this is what we'll work with today. Yeah. So I have my PowerPoint on my iPad. I hope this will also do. But yeah, let's get started. Case study project, okay? So the objectives of my case study were to find what motivates Korean middle school and high school students to learn English. How does their education system affect their language acquisition? Is their motivation more instrumental or integrative? So this was an important topic for me because we learned how important motivation is when learning a second language. So I was very curious to see how my students felt about something that is pretty mandatory in their lives to learn. Um, so yeah, let's keep going. Um, so background, um, I kind of broke this into two parts, like the literature review part um, of like Korean culture, Korean education, and also like motivation studies that have happened. So this first one is Korean education. Um, and I know that you are Korean, so I feel a little nervous talking about all of these things that I'm sure you know so much more about, but let's go. Um, so Hagwon attendance. Hagwons are private academies that students attend after school to study like extra on different subjects, science, math, English. If you can think of a subject, there's probably a Hagwon for it. So I am currently employed at a Hagwon. And after school, Hagwon, no kindergarten. So it's like my working hours are from like 1 to 7. So I do have some lower elementary, but elementary, middle school, and high school students. So Korean education really uses a lot of rote learning techniques, a lot of um, speak, saying it, like writing it down, um, and a lot of like lecture things, lecture classes, not a lot of participation. And I can really feel that in my older students. Um, so this case study also has a lot to do with standardized testing. The CSAT, College Scholastic Ability Test, is a test that all Korean students must take to get into university. Um, and students start preparing for that from elementary school probably, but definitely middle school and high school is really preparing for that. Um, Korea has one of the highest literacy rates in the world. I think it is the highest. Um, yeah, the highest level of literacy in the world. Um, Job markets here are so competitive. Getting into university is so competitive. There's like the very prestigious universities in Seoul. I live in Busan, and we have some pretty good universities here as well. But the percentage of students that go on to higher level education is so high that the competition is just very fierce. Um, and the Scholastic Ability Test is very, very difficult and notorious for being very difficult. So that's why they prepare for it for so long, right? Okay, so that's a little bit about Korean education. So my background for the literature review for motivation studies. Um, so I wanted to focus on instrumental versus integrative. Um, and so we know like instrumental is when you're like working towards a goal to like further your career or something like that, and then integrative is if you want to like get into a new culture, have some conversations, like be in it that way. Um, so I was also curious to focus on studies that were outside of of like English speaking countries. I thought that might actually have a difference of populations studying English not in an English speaking country. I think that has a lot to do with motivation. Um, so that was something I was curious about. Um, yeah, so I found 3 studies of students um, that also were looking for instrumental or integrative motivation. So one study was done in Malaysia, one was in Pakistan, and one was in Taiwan. Um, Students learning English there in their home countries, and they all had more instrumental motivation. So that was very interesting to me, okay, because I do think that location has something to do with it. Okay, so back to my case study. So I chose my Korean middle school and high school students. So this is my participant profile and survey design. Um, so I chose 3 of my classes. So it's 2 middle school classes and 1 high school class. So they're probably around 11 years old to 15 years old, I would say would be the range. International age, because they tell me that. They give me their Korean age. But 11 to 15 international age. And I would say that they're all intermediate, some lower intermediate, um, some upper intermediate, but I would say they're all about in that range. More females than males. I didn't really want to focus on that too much. But yeah, they're all native Korean speakers who are attending my Hagwon. So my survey is 12 questions, I statements. For example, so 6 instrumental questions, 6 integrative questions, and they're gonna rate like their agreement. Strongly agree, agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree are the options for the survey, right? So it's like some examples. I hope to make foreign friends using English. I enjoy having English conversations. Having conversations in English. Um, 2 more. I will earn more money if I speak English. I need English to get into a good university. Okay, so those are just some examples of the questions. And I have the survey in English and Korean. I'll give them both to the kids just so they can like understand it better, because I want them to like clearly get the instructions, right? Okay, so there's that. So data collections and findings is pretty sad. um, I've been in my apartment for the last, I think this is day 13 that I haven't been to work because of the COVID-19 virus. So my school was shut down, my Hagwon was shut down February 24th. And I planned on surveying the kids from February 24th to February 26th. So it just did not work out that I was not able to give the students the survey. I know this will be over by the time I get back to school, but I do plan on giving the kids the survey because I've already done all of this work, and I'm very curious as to what the answers will be. But as of now, all like as a nation, Korean schools are closed until March 23rd. So my Hagwon is also closed until then. So I still have 2 more weeks of no work. But yeah, this has been something that I was not expecting. You know, you hear about all of these things on the news, and then I was here in Korea, and it just took over. Like the infected people got into my city, like I think it was about 2 weeks ago, and then things just started shutting down. So unfortunately, I was unable to complete that part, but I did. This is my 3rd year, starting my 3rd year teaching English in Korea. So I drew some conclusions from what I have experienced, what I found in my research. So I feel pretty satisfied about what I could find and what I could conclude about things. So yeah, okay. So conclusion, further implications. So this is all from my past experience. The experience that I've had with these students that I have chosen to survey, I definitely would say they are instrumentally motivated, like 100%. I could kind of feel who would be a little bit more integratively motivated. Like I know those students who are a little bit more curious about Western culture, media, that kind of thing, who I can feel they enjoy being at the Hagwon more, or you know, that kind of thing. But I think there are many factors that go into why my students are more instrumentally motivated. So I would say age, culture, diversity, curriculum, and standardized testing are the biggest reasons why they are more instrumentally motivated. Age, they're still young. I think it's hard for them to envision their lives outside of Korea, or what there is outside of Korea and why English is important. Um, Culture, so that would be in the studying culture that is here in Korea, the pressures to do well. Um, Diversity, um, there is about 4% of the population in Korea is foreign, and 60% of that they live in the Seoul, like the greater Seoul area. So I think lack of diversity um, is something as well. Some students, I'm their only exposure to like a native English speaker. Um, so that's interesting. So I also think that's something that they can't wrap their minds around as well, or that they're just not exposed to it, right? Um, Curriculum, I think, is the other big thing that I see in my Hagwon. I see like a big split. Like elementary school students are doing like creative writing, speech classes, more fun or interesting books and topics and things. But I see a big switch when the kids get to middle school. It's like fun time is over. Their books switch, their class like structure kind of switches. It's not as fun anymore. Very serious, a lot of memorizing. Um, so I think that doesn't help in the motivation area either. And also the standardized testing, that test that they have to take to get into university, I think is just a huge factor in their motivation. You know, they just can't really help it. Their whole culture, their whole thing that they're surrounded by is just like, you need to perform well, right? Um, so for myself, I have learned so much about what I can do to hopefully make them feel more integratively motivated. And I also kind of found that that had to do with extrinsic and intrinsic motivation as well. I feel like those kind of go together. You could pair them together, right? So I want to focus on getting my kids more intrinsically motivated, and that will kind of turn them to be more integratively motivated, I hope. So to do that, I want to share my culture as much as I can, kind of pique their interest, Western media, anything that I can do, or my experiences of speaking English, traveling. I have all these friends from around the world. Look what I'm doing now. I'm living in another country, you know, so kind of that, and just letting them know that these opportunities are available, and also getting them to come up with some personal goals that they want to achieve in English. Not that their parents want, not that this Hagwon wants, not that they have to achieve because they have to get into university, something personal that they want to achieve, right? And trying to give them as much freedom in the classroom to decide what we do, what we learn, to kind of just foster that motivation of, I want to do this for me. This is fun. I enjoy it. Let's learn some English, right? So I really need to try, because, you know, my curriculum that I teach the kids is set. You know, I can't really go to my boss and be like, you know, I think we should do this, because she is, has a curriculum from the upper people, and the parents have all these expectations and things, so it's kind of hard in that way. But I have to find more ways to motivate these kids, because that will overall help their learning. They'll retain more if they are more intrinsically motivated. So yeah, a lot of things that I saw that I can do to help my kids, which was very good for me, I think. Okay, so let's get to critique. So I think some strengths in this case study for me were that I have been teaching in Korea. This is starting at my third year, so having a little bit of like an insider perspective of Korean culture, how their schooling works, that kind of thing, I think was good for me to know. Some weaknesses, obviously, I was not able to complete the survey. And also, I found myself like just having so many ideas of like, oh, this connects to this and this connects to this. And I hope like within my paper, I didn't completely lose myself, but you know, I tried to keep it very focused on what I was thinking, but it was just so easy to like, well, this stems off to this, and this could be why this was going on. And there's just so many things that I've learned that I wanted to share, or that I whatever. So it really took me a lot to like focus on what my topic was and not branch out into other things. So hopefully it doesn't come through in the paper too much because I tried to really rein it in, but I think that's also a weakness is maybe I went out to too many different things. I'm not really sure. But I thoroughly enjoyed this assignment. It really challenged me. Yeah, and it was really great. This whole class has been amazing. So that is it for me. Thank you for watching, and yeah, thank you.